Okay. Good evening, everyone. Part of the Crime Prevention and Community Safety Committee. Councillor Hallman, if you'd be able to read the Territorial Acknowledgement.
Absolutely. Good evening, everybody. We have gathered in Wilmot Township on the traditional territory of the neutral Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and Mississauga peoples. We also want to acknowledge the importance of the Dish with One Spoon Covenant, a peace agreement made between Indigenous nations before the settlers arrived. It characterizes our collective responsibility to each other and Mother Earth. We should only take what we need, leave enough for others, and keep the dish clean. By acknowledging this covenant and the First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people, we are reminded of our important connection to this land where we live, learn, and work together as a community.
Thank you very much for that. Next item on our agenda for this evening is disclosure of any pecuniary interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. Sorry. Okay. Does anyone have any? Okay, perfect. So we'll continue. Item 3, items of discussion. First item on the agenda for today is resignations. Does anyone have anything to speak to that? I know as we're aware, there's 2 members or 3 members since the beginning that have resigned. So at this point, I'm not sure if the plan is to look for additional members again. Councillor Hallman, your hand's raised.
I think perhaps CAO Chambers was going to share the same comment, so I'll just put my hand down as it's probably better.
Sure.
Yes, and I'm sorry, Councillor Hallman, if you wanted to speak to that, by all means, go ahead. I was just going to let the committee know that procedurally the membership of committees changes with the term of council, and this being an election year, and there'd be limited time to recruit new members and get them up to speed on the committee before we'd be looking to recruit again into a new year. So it would be my recommendation just to let things ride and do a fulsome recruitment in the new term of council.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much for that. Next item is discussion of the webpage resource list update. Councillor Hallman.
Thanks. Through the chair, I just wanted to comment that. So I just thought it was helpful if we kind of continually check on that and see if there's any other resources to add. One of the ones that I did want to look at, I was actually going to reach out to the fire chief about it, was it kind of comes up later in the meeting as well, is when it comes to water safety and that sort of thing. I know just being kind of surrounded by the Neth River, I kind of have that cognitively, on the mind. And I didn't know, maybe Chris, wearing your other hat that you wear in your day job, are there resources that the region has or what the regional police has when it comes to just information for water safety with kids and fishing and just, kind of responsibility along the shorelines? Was just kind of, thinking about that there could be some adding that to our source list and or anything like that. Do you know of anybody that I could reach out to?
I don't offhand. However, I could reach out to our WRPS media team and just see if they have anything that they'd be willing to share with us.
Okay.
Lang.
Through the chair. I would agree with that. I think it would be a good resource because it's not just water safety in the summertime in terms of like preventing drownings. It's also water safety in terms of managing people walking about on frozen structures in the wintertime, which can cause just bad things to happen. But we've had many conversations with my 8-year-old about not stepping in the creek when it's frozen, and things like that. So I think it would be a good idea to look at water safety both from like across all seasons is what I'm saying.
Absolutely. Thank you. Anyone else like to add anything on that topic? Councillor Gordon?
Through the chair, I just wanted to ask briefly as a responsibility so that if there's changes, would there be someone responsible with making sure that the website is current as far as, would that be up to our one of the staff members like our clerk and or Donna, who's going to be representing for a while, just the resources that we put up on there to just ensure that they're done so that all of us aren't sort of, you know, chasing each other with regards to that. Just wanted to know a procedure for going forward. Thank you.
CEO Chambers?
Yes, I would say that if you have needs, for now, you can let me know as a resource to the committee, and then I'll make sure it's passed along to communications.
Thank you very much for that. Next topic we have on our agenda is speeding in Wilmot. Councillor Holman.
Thanks for the chair. I just wanted to get endorsement through the committee to find out if I have support on asking Public Works and getting a staff directive that we just be circulated on the data that comes out of Public Works regarding the speed signs that we see in Wilmot. I just think that would be important for us to stay up to date on that data, and maybe even sharing it on through our link through the Community Safety and Crime Prevention. I know internally I did see some data that came out from Mannheim, and I do know that Public Works was working on a system internally on kind of compiling that data and making it more accessible. But then I thought if we routinely request that we stay up to date on that as a policy through the organization, that this committee gets that data, that, you know, as if things shift or change, that would be something that we would not necessarily be able to do so much with the information, but it would be helpful to navigate that through the community, and also then maybe it would allow us for different advocacy through the municipality that way. So maybe we can ask Chris to kind of just take a motion of hands of support, and then we can ask if, I think CEO Chambers is doing or is it Donna that's doing the notes, sorry. And then we can see if we can get, you know, kind of get that moved off to the right department to report back to us on if that can happen.
Thank you very much. Councillor Gordon?
Just for clarification, I get some of it, but I'm just wondering with regards to that, we don't usually release a lot of that information publicly. So I'm just kind of curious as to perhaps if it's, what would be the purpose of us having it first of all? And I totally understand, because we've asked for the speed signs for the accumulation, which actually we passed to the police department so that they can maybe, you know, put in surveillance for certain areas to kind of keep an eye on that. But I don't know, I just want to know to what end, because it seems to be extra work for our staff at this point to kind of compile that, and just what we as a committee would want to do with that information. So I just wanted to see the thought process for that behind.
Okay. CEO Chambers?
Thank you. And yes, I was just wanting some clarity on that in terms of, you know, the direction. I think at this point, rather than directing staff to provide the information, perhaps if I could have some clarity on, you know, what to go back and ask the director for, and as Councillor Gordick said, how the committee intends to use the information, and then I can report back to you.
Thank you. Ms. Lang?
I'm chair. I'm pretty data driven, and there's a lot of messaging that can be created around just pure statistics in terms of how many, you know, how many speeding vehicles are passing through an area, or how many, there's lots of statistics that you can use to sort of message around, you know, street safety, speed safety campaigns, and you know, social, there's lots of things that we can implement as a safety committee to remind the community to slow down in our spaces. So that would be the reason for that. I think stats tend to be more compelling in a messaging standpoint, instead of, you know, otherwise it can come across as just sort of finger wagging, like don't do that. Whereas when you have statistics, it's like drunk driving. Everybody knows you shouldn't, but when you find out that there are, you know, however many fatalities due to drunk driving every year or every month, it lands a little differently. I think it hits a little harder. So those statistics could be useful.
Thank you very much for that. Councillor Holman?
Thanks for all the feedback, everybody. I'll make sure I add some more clarity, sorry, through the chair. So that data is something that Public Works already does. A resident of Mannheim had requested that data through what was being surveyed on Mannheim Road. And this data is actually, if you go to the City of Kitchener's website, they have it all available publicly. They post it on their website that so you can see all of the speed data there. So I think some internal communication that was happening in Wilmot is that our staff were not at that level yet to kind of have that so readily available. But now that it seems that there's a system in place, as that data that occurred in Mannheim was available to the residents requesting it, that we do have it. So I think because it's already going out to the public, that having us, when it's available, come to this committee would be valuable. And just like Kate had said, we would be able to then look at that data and see if it would be, for example, the City of Kitchener, sorry to use them again, has done in the residential areas, has switched the speed limits to 40. And there's, you know, the 0 by 30. There's so many initiatives that happen around Canada that kind of really assist with that mindset. And then even regionally, the Air News, I'll send this all to you guys as well. The Air News published the results of the speed cameras that are happening within through the region, and the ones that we have are in front of WBO and Surratt and Beck and Woodendie Public School. And what the results that the Air News published was that actually it has significantly decreased the speeds having those cameras there. So those auto enforcement has really improved community safety. So again, if I don't know, but I'm going to assume that Wilmot staff has received that data from the region. And if it's a directive that Wilmot of the Community Safety and Crime Prevention Committee is that as that information becomes available, if it can be given to us, it helps kind of keep our pulse on that information, and then perhaps a time for us to advocate to Wilmot Council as a whole to say, you know what, we're seeing this program is actually working out really effectively, or we're seeing an uptick in really big safety concerns, and we want to advocate as a committee to Wilmot Council as a whole and see what budgetary items it would be to kind of support the 40-kilometer speed limit within all of Wilmot Township residential neighborhoods. So like Kate was saying, having that evidence back itself, the first step would be to see, let's look at the data, let's evaluate the data, and let's see if there's ways that we can, you know, we see it as a committee as a whole, do we see it as needing further advocacy, or is it a system that's working right now with just those rotating cameras? So I hope that provides further clarity, and I will send the Air News article to you also. You have that, and then perhaps then Ms. Chambers can report back to us on the data that becomes available so we can kind of keep our eye on it.
CO Chambers?
Yes, so in terms of direction, I will speak to the Director of Public Works and Engineering regarding the data and talk about, you know, staff's capability in compiling that and report back to the committee.
In regards to speeding, is there anything else that would be discussed? Okay. I'll go on to the next item. I know we talked about it already a little bit, but water safety messaging. I don't know if anyone would like to add kind of other than what we've already discussed on that topic. Okay, perfect. Next item will be important dates for anti-racism messaging. Councillor Holman?
Sorry, everybody, too many screens. Okay, I'm gonna go to another screen and through the chair so I can find that original document that I sent everyone the link to. Here it is. So I can't see you all right now, so I'm sorry if, because I'm just reading through that screen that I sent you all. Going through this list, I found this really valuable, and I thought that perhaps we could perhaps ask for these dates that were sent through the ones that the University of Waterloo uses, and kind of coming up for ones that, you know, kind of speak to us coming right now is we have Indigenous History Month, Juneteenth Day, World Refugee Day. It has Canada Day listed, Nelson Mandela Day, Emancipation Day, and then we lead into some other ones that lead into, you know, September and October. So I don't know if we want, you know, I don't want to overwhelm anyone's agenda, or if one speaks to everyone more than another, or if perhaps the communication team, if maybe Ms. Chambers can comment on this too, if the best angle forward would be to, you know, we could work behind the scenes with the communication just to let them know that these are things that we are interested in having messaging coming from us as this committee, just to have, you know, that we want to look out for these, or if that is too much for communications to do, and maybe we can independently as a committee, you know, design some things through Canva and provide that to communication. So I don't know if Ms. Chambers can actually hop on and share if what kind of direction would be the most productive at this time. So yeah, anyway, I'll just leave it there for a moment.
EO Chambers.
Through you, Chair. Yes, I can speak to the communications team. So if this committee has some suggestions in terms of content that you would like to see, I know they meet regularly, and if you wanted to send that to me, then I can forward that to them, and we can share the communication plans with you. I know some of they do have some content planning underway for some of those items that you mentioned, and we can share that with the committee if that's of interest, and then supplement it with any ideas that you may have.
Thank you very much. Would anyone else like to add anything on that topic? Okay, we'll go on to the next one, which is funding requests for 2023, pardon me, budget, event surveys, logos, copies, Councillor Holman.
Through the chair, sorry, I'm the chatty one of our regular council meetings too. So I was looking at this, and because, you know, it's a growth and learning opportunity. So I learned that you think even passing the budget that I would have known this already, but hey, here we are. For the copies that were requested to hand out to the families that are coming to the bike safety event, there's a fee for copies as well. So I thought, you know, as we continue, maybe this can be a regular item that is continually added to the agenda, even leading into the fall session. So that way, as we grow this committee, we can appropriately advocate to the ILS department what we will require for budget for this committee. So I know that right now we had asked for council support around $300 to do the bike safety event for the hall. And then I think it would have cost us around $100 for copies that we handed out. So I think maybe just it's a good idea to kind of continually brainstorm this as we head into the fall and we map out for next year. So I just thought that I'd ask for that committee support to kind of keep this item on the agenda going forward, so we can have an appropriate idea of what to advocate for to the ILS department for budgets. And so yeah, just wanted to share with you from behind the scenes the copies. You know, maybe we can continually ask around $300 a year for that, and maybe around 500 to 1,000 for events, as we don't know really where we're going to be at this time. So so yes, just kind of looking for committee support on keeping that as an ongoing agenda item for every meeting, and we kind of keep that the minutes to kind of reflect what we, you know, what we anticipate really.
Okay, Councillor Gordon.
Through the chair to the CAO, this brings to mind that part of our budget, and it's kind of like this being sort of the first time we've had one, and of course how things progress with this particular committee. I never noticed on any of our budget items if committees are kept separately as a sort of so I don't really know how much the Castle Committee has, how much the Heritage Committee has, how much sustainability has as far as committees. And I'm wondering, if going forward, if that could be either cut out, like kept separately, so that we know if we kind of ask as a new committee if we get along the same budget amount for the first year. So if the Heritage gets then $2,000, then we should get $2,000. And if we don't, then we kind of at least have a starting field. The other part of it is, if maybe perhaps you could speak to it a little bit, is what is included in that budgetary amount. So we've just asked you to work with our communications team with some of these anti-racism agenda items. Does that get part of the budget by having staff do those kind of things, attending to the asks that we do, having Public Works prepare the speed data, those kind of things? So I'm just cognizant of the fact that these could be nickel and diming the monies that we do ask for an event that we want to have. So agreed with Councillor Hallman to have this put on the agenda so we can constantly keep up to where we are and how we spend the money. But if we don't know how we're spending it, it's also kind of like, you know, we're asking for something we don't know what we're doing kind of thing as far as the spend goes. So if you could speak to that, I would appreciate that.
Councillor Hallman, would you like to add anything before CEO Chair Chambers speaks?
Thanks for the chair. I was just going to add, and actually thank you for calling on me first because it might help CEO Chambers with this one. I did miss that I was going to ask about surveys. I did like the one comment that the previous member of the committee did mention, and I know that that would require a significant budgetary expense and timeline for staff to compile that. I do think that would add value perhaps during the next cycle. So I don't know if that's something that, I'm not sure how that would look to do that in the 2023 year of compiling a survey as to where people feel community safety is in Wilmot. Or if there was if you were aware of another angle within the community that survey would be appropriate, but kind of wanted to land that as a budgetary review item as well with staff.
Thank you very much. CEO Chambers, would you like to address that?
Yes, I can respond. So in terms of budget being allocated to committees, right now, we don't actually allocate budget to any of the committees that we have existing. So their expenditures are incorporated into the departmental budgets. If there are activities that the committees are undertaking for a year, then that would be planned by the director and just incorporated into the budget. The terms of reference here for this committee indicates that you would meet with the director of ILS prior to the development of the budget and establish priorities for the upcoming year so that it could be incorporated in. I would suggest that it would be sort of the same sort of process. It would just fall into the departmental budget, but it would be very helpful to identify what your key priorities are so that they can be included. Also keeping in mind that this is an election year, so it will be a new committee, taking that forward. I would still suggest that you in order to carry on the work that you're doing this year, that you would make those suggestions. And, not having been in Wilmot before during an election, I'm not sure of the timing of how you do that around the election cycle. But it would be something that we would certainly carry forward and recommend that be carried on when the new council takes place.
Very much for that. Would anyone like to add anything else? I'll move on to the next item. Suicide Action Wilmot and Wellesley participate. Councillor Hallman.
Thanks for the chair. This is a topic near and dear to my heart. And usually the Suicide Action Wilmot and Wellesley does a walk in the fall in September. And I thought this might be a appropriate alignment with our committee to support. So normally they do the evening for their event. There's a family skate for people who have been impacted or support that advocacy for mental wellness. And then there's a candlelit walk that happens from the rec complex through the trails and back to the arena. Just thought this would be a natural way for us to support them in that walk and messaging and volunteer and that sort of thing. So if we're interested, I did already reach out to Trisha Robinson at the Wilmot Family Resource Center to ask them to come and share their insight on safety at one of our upcoming meetings. And I thought that with committee endorsement that I could reach out to that committee and ask them to come and attend one of these meetings and share with us if they could value working with us and our support for that event. So just kind of looking if nod of hands or raise of hands if people are interested in that, or and let me know and I can. Okay, perfect. So then I'll send an email following and just ask them to attend one of our meetings where we can have more of a frank discussion with them and see if they're interested in working with us.
That's great. Thank you very much. On that topic, is there any other discussion points on there that anyone would like to add? Okay. Next, I'll go to next item, Gingrich Pathway lighting. Miss Lang? Saw your
I'll
finger.
get this eventually, I swear. Through the chair. So I made an unfortunate decision this week. In my memory, the pathway along Gingrich was really well lit. And I found out that the reason why in my memory that was the case is because I'd never in fact walked it at night. And I did not find this out until I was on a walk by myself after dark, down by sort of Snyder's and trying to come all the way back down. Suffice it to say, I scared myself senseless several times along that pathway, both because it's very difficult to see people on that pathway as a driver. I know that I have been frightened by people who all of a sudden pop out of nowhere because you can't see them. And as a pedestrian, I was very, very conscious of the fact that people might not be able to see me as a pedestrian, and that was a dangerous state of affairs for me. And it was also just, there could have been anybody on that pathway and I wouldn't have seen them until I was practically on top of them. It's a lovely pathway. It is incredibly wide. It's well paved. It's a great source of exercise for the community. A great way to get around. And I think if we had some lighting along that pathway, it would make it a much safer avenue for people like me to go for a walk in the dark, because that's the only time I have without my kids. So that's sort of my proposition, is that we might find a way to do some lighting along there that isn't intrusive to the people whose property backs onto that pathway, but that does provide some safety for people who are walking along there, both in terms of traffic and people who might be hiding in the dark to jump out at you and do bad things.
Thank you very much. Councillor Holman?
Thanks for the chair. So what I'm wondering is if the best way, because you're talking, if I've got this correct, that would be like Sand Hills along Gingrich, like where you would walk to go to Baden Coffee?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I'm geographically ridiculous, so please don't judge me.
Usually I am too.
I lived in the same town for 18 years and still can't tell the difference between the two main drags. Can't do it. So it's the really wide back bike path that, like, if you go down Foundry and then turn on Gingrich, that pathway that goes that way.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Okay.
On the left-hand side there.
So yes, actually that path has been brought up to me as a counselor several times about people with the evening. They're like, great summer nights, long evenings, it's wonderful. But then as soon as winter comes or fall comes, it's dark quite a bit. And as that has kind of, especially with Snyder's Road under construction, it has become quite a bit busier recently. So I guess I'm just processing what the most appropriate action would be, is perhaps our committee write a letter to council, or I believe we have to report to council every quarter as a committee. So either then at one of those updates that we delegate and ask to all of council to review this request in the 2023 budget, or ask for a staff report leading into the 2023 budget, what that would look like. So I'm not sure if Ms. Chambers can comment, but I believe that would be the two best avenues, is either delegating at one of our updates, or just writing a letter of request to council for that process.
Yes, through you, Chair, to respond. Yes, I can get some input from staff on this too, to see if this issue has been identified. Sorry, I'm not sure if it has in the past, if there's been any discussion, or if it's in the plan. So I can inquire to staff, and we can discuss, you know, first of all, if it's not in the plan, then do we bring it forward to council as a suggestion? So I just don't have enough background on that to know if it's in our capital plans or not.
Thank you very much. Councillor Gordon.
Through the chair, back to Ms. Chambers and to the group. That particular stretch of road had been delayed for a number of years. It had been sort of a project, I think, and it's also in conjunction with the region, if I'm not mistaken, some of that work. And it may be because of the ongoing work within that area is, there might have been lights before, but because of the change in how that we did that as a bike lane and stuff like that, I can't imagine that they would have left a bike lane without so it might be one of those things where it's kind of next steps, but it would be helpful for Ms. Chambers just to investigate, because it just recently was finished, more or less, like with the paving and fixing some of that up. So sometimes those things just kind of go in stages, if I'm not mistaken. It might just be that the lights might go in when they finish the Schneider part, because the two roads are kind of they feed off of each other, and it may be that they finish one piece of the road and do the other, and then they'll come back and they might do the lighting. But again, it might be a region ask, because I believe both Gingrich and Schneider's are part of regional roads, and it might be something that we have to pass up to sort of find the next steps on that one, if I'm not mistaken. But at least look into it, because yeah, at nighttime it's not good, especially in the winter months. We had some issues with Kirkpatrick Park for the similar at nighttime, and because our parking issues in downtown New Hamburg, a lot of residents were saying, well, we don't want to park there because there's no lighting in the park at night, especially for women who are working at, say, the bank or whatever, until 8 or 9 o'clock at night. Summertime, great, but not so great in the winter months. But it had always been sort of a conversation that was kind of pushed a little bit further out, because we knew that the work was being done in Kirkpatrick Park. So eventually lights were being there, but it wasn't helpful for at the time when we were having some changes to the downtown parking. So it might be a similar situation, is that it's all being tied in together. But so just as an example is what I was referring to.
Thank you very much. CO Chambers, did you want to add something?
Yes, perhaps it could be a motion of direction for me to investigate and report back to the committee before we decide action on that.
Okay. Councillor Hallman, motion.
I was going to say, I'll move that.
Move it, sorry. And I think I saw Councillor Gordon's hand, or sorry, Ms. Lang, seconded. Sorry, I think that's passed then. Perfect, thank you. Okay. Is there any further that we want to discuss on that topic? Okay, and then the final item for this evening that we have to discuss is the bike safety event that's upcoming. Councillor Holman?
There we go. Through the window button. All right, I just wanted to give you all an update on that. Everything is looking great for this weekend. So far, I've received about 15 kids who have given a heads up that they're attending the event, so that's exciting. Waterloo Regional Police has said that they're coming to attend the event and greet with the kids, and the organizer, the person helping us with the information, who has run it through the New Dundee Optimist, Chris Martin Root, is going to be coming and helping the education piece for the kids. So just if those volunteering can make sure we're there about an hour ahead of time. So if we can be there around noon, we'll just need one of us to do helmet inspections, just to make sure that all kids have helmets inspected. We have a waiver from the township that's been provided from our insurance. So I'll have those printed off and ready to go. Parents do need to stay with their children. That is part of our requirement with the insurance. And it's with great pleasure that I get to announce that the New Dundee Optimists have sponsored $150 for the event for bells to be attached to bikes for kids, which is really exciting. So I know we'll have hands on deck there from Waterloo Regional Police to help get those installed on the bikes as well. And our staff at Wilmot Township, the Public Works Department, has donated some pylons and some real metal signs for the kids to interact with and see. So that's really exciting. Really happy that they were able to do that. And yeah, so really looking forward to that event. And I think that's it for me. Just wanted to let you know that kind of all those scenes happening behind the scenes, that all those pieces have fallen into place. And so we can just, staff have, again, through our communications department, has been great about getting the messaging out. So maybe Ms. Chambers can also communicate that back to all those departments, that we're really thankful for their working with us, and to help all of these pieces be integrated into heading into a successful event, our first successful event. And I think that's it for that. So, oh, sorry, I did have one more thing looking at my list. I didn't know if somebody could volunteer to write a thank you note to the New Dundee Optimist from our committee for the donation of the bells. Thank you, Kate. I appreciate that.
Sorry, I was right. I missed that. Ms. Lang, did you want to add something?
Yeah. So with the request that we attend an hour prior to the event, that gets a little sticky from my perspective, because I have tiny humans who need to sleep. So I will get there as early as I can. I'll do my best. Okay.
We have many helping hands. Don't stress about that.
Fantastic. All right. Just wanted to double check. I didn't want to be like, disqualified or something. Kicked out.
Oh, it's I'm excited. It sounds like it's going to be a fantastic event. So looking forward to that. Councillor Gordick.
Through the chair, just a quick one, just because we are live and there might be people that are paying attention. Will be for the little ones and parents, there will be ask of that masks for the day. Just want to make sure that that's out there into the public knowledge, that we will be asking the participants to be masked for the event this weekend. Yeah, just wanted to make sure that that goes out without anybody kind of saying it hasn't been discussed. So thanks.
Thank you very much. I guess the final item would be adjournment, unless anyone would like to discuss anything further. Perfect. I'm sure everyone would like to continue on with their evening. So motion to adjourn. Ms. Gordick, Ms. Hallman, or Councillor Hallman to second that motion, and it looks like it's passed. So I appreciate everyone coming this evening.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.